right there on the little table next to my chair. What's up, buddy? Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
What's up, buddy?
Okay. Do we have? I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Oh yeah. Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Finally get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
What's up, buddy?
Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Yes, right there on the little table.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking. What's up, buddy? Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket. Yes, right there on the little table. Oh, yeah, now we're talking. What's up, buddy? Oh yeah. Do we have? Holy, I love you. I want to turn off bracket.
Welcome to another week of Huddle Up. I'm your host, Paul Snyder, and we're finally back. We've been out for a little bit for a hiatus, but kind of back right at the right time, because this is a big time throughout the sports year where a lot of things are going on at once. You have NBA season is wrapping up in the next few weeks. The March Madness is here. NFL free agency, baseball starting up. The Masters is in less than a month. I love this time of year. It's my favorite. JT, can you welcome, by the way, and can you express the same type of love for this time of year as opposed to other parts?
The benefit of this time of year, I want to bring it back just a little bit. So let's go back maybe about a month. So I think February and March are probably the two best sports months of the year. And the reason being, we've got Super Bowl, we have the NBA All-Star Game.
It's kind of the kickoff. The Super Bowl is the kickoff to like this great season that you have.
Really is. So we have the Super Bowl, we have NBA All-Star Game, and then kind of wrapping up the NBA in itself. We've got March Madness and tournament time. We've got the high school winter sports. I mean, we got to watch Essex win, or St. Albans
BFA,
win
right.
The hockey tournament for states, and as well as U82, they played a great one. We got to watch some high school basketball state championships, and then right around the corner we get into NBA playoffs, and then we start baseball season.
We say right around the corner. We're still, a little ways out from that, but it definitely can round out this entire year.
It's February through April is just entertaining. You've got start of baseball, you've got end of football to the start of baseball, and then everything in between.
For me, NBA was like, it's kind of like, I kind of really stopped watching that because I had my fix of basketball with March Madness, and then baseball starts up, and that's where my focus is. But this year with the NBA, there's just there's a collective group of teams that are just so much fun to watch, and we've talked about it throughout the year. That you really can't take your eyes away from. I want to see what's going on. I really wish that we were on the West Coast so I didn't have to stay up past 1:30 to watch Golden State play. Again, they're playing the Knicks tonight. I think it's at Golden State. Yep. So again, a 10:30 start. I'm probably not going to stay up. I mean, honestly, I could watch the first half and I'll get all I need to see.
Yeah.
Because in a game like this, Curry's probably not going to see the fourth quarter like he hasn't for many games this year. But even teams like San Antonio, it's still fun to watch LeBron out on the court. I love watching the Celtics these days. They're a young group. It's fun to watch. Dropped one to the Pacers on Tuesday night, but a little bit of injury concerns is why that happened. But you have these teams that are just Portland also is a lot of fun to watch right now. Teams that are getting hot, like I said, the season's really not over. There's 16 games left, so there's plenty of time for movement throughout the standings. But now I'm actually focused on that because of a team like Golden State and San Antonio, and the fact that even if Golden State wasn't good, we'd all still be looking at San Antonio like the next Spurs, not the next Spurs, or the next Chicago Bulls, because if they win out from currently right now, they will tie that 72-10 Bulls record. That's 15 games, and a lot of them are against teams like Golden State. So it's probably not going to happen. But it's still interesting that things could happen. There's so many teams that are so good at the right time.
I want to say there's so many teams that are so good at the right time. It's a two-man race. Golden State or San Antonio is going to win the championship. You really cannot argue for another team to beat either one of them. You want to talk about LeBron and the Cavaliers, who have fallen off the face of the earth since the All-Star game.
But they also had that huge lead going into the All-Star break, where they've been able to coast to the playoffs.
They have, but that team has fallen apart, and you can see within it that they are struggling to hold an identity. They've got right now their team is kind of that team of all-stars that can't seem to pull themselves together and play as a team. They're really struggling. LeBron can't hit a shot to save his life. And I mean, he's slowed down his shooting at this point because he's shooting so bad. You've got Kyrie Irving, who deserves to be the number one threat on the court, and he's not. And that team is just crumbling underneath itself. You do have some of those mid-level teams that are playing really well, as you mentioned.
I think that's what I'm getting at, is that even though they're not the 1, 2, and 3, because in the West and in the East, those teams are kind of set. In the one, more likely the
1 through 4.
Right. So I'm looking at those teams, those 4 through 8, that are really starting to peak, and even the 9s and 10 type of teams, they're coming up. And like even a team like Dallas, they're 8th in the West, but they're not. It's not like they're not a threat.
No.
They can still go out there and play some pretty good ball. So and I hate to generalize, but those are the teams I'm really talking about. Portland is 6th.
Yep.
That's a team that can really do something in the playoffs if it comes down to it. They're hitting all the right strides right now.
And who's the team that's choking the most right now?
Of all the teams?
Of all the teams, who is choked? Oklahoma City.
Yeah, okay, yes. So you have a team that you see these 2 All-Stars, and I've seen so many articles online and everything through Twitter and all that. Why can't Oklahoma find the right formula? I'm not an NBA analyst. I don't really know. I don't have a lot of stock in it, but I'll ask you that. What is it about these 2 All-Stars that they can't? Is it because there's just 2 of them, or is it because they just...
It's not a one-man show. It's not a two-man show. It's a team game. And, let's look back at OKC a couple of years back before they lose James Harden. Okay, they had Cephalosha starting over James Harden. Look how stupid that really was in the long run. Minus it was beneficial to have Harden coming in off the bench, kind of like Iguodala for Golden State. But they shared the ball. They have turned into a two-man show. It's about Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. And the scary number is the fourth quarter shooting for Westbrook. He's shooting 20% from the field in the fourth quarter. You can't win a championship doing that. I mean, you're shooting 60% for the first 3 quarters, and then you dive for the fourth.
But it's not to say that a 2-person or even a 1-person, star or team can't do some effectiveness in the playoffs, because we've seen that with LeBron throughout the beginning of his career. He was a one-man team, and he's LeBron. That's I'm not trying to compare him to a Russell Westbrook or to a Kevin Durant, but I'm still talking, top 5, top 10 All-Stars here. Why wouldn't they be able to try and put something? Are they just waiting to get to the playoffs? Will that magic switch turn on?
It will. You can't look at Oklahoma City and look at that team and the talent that they have and go, they're just going to choke and die out in the playoffs instantly. They've got too much talent for that. If they do, it's really going to change everything for Oklahoma City. But
if they go into the playoffs at a 3 seed, I mean, that's a pretty good spot for them, because then they're facing number 6. They're facing, then they're facing number 2. They're not facing that Golden State team right off the bat.
We just talked about Portland. They're the most dangerous team. It would be a hard scratch for Oklahoma City to come out with a win versus Portland. But again, look at it kind of in a broader picture. We look at the teams that are fantastic, or not even just fantastic, but play good ball. Do you see Boston playing one-on-one ball? No, you don't. Do you see Golden State play one-on-one ball? No, you don't. Do you see Chicago Bulls play one-on-one ball? Very minimal. It's a team game. With Westbrook and Durant, it's constantly me or you and get out of the way. You're not going to win games that way. Even when LeBron did it, when he was truly the only star on his team, he did it with a triple-double almost every game.
Right.
You got to have all those things, and they don't pass the ball.
Well, Westbrook is capable of that, though.
He is.
So, I mean, it's just bad timing on his half, really. He's not doing what's expected of him.
No, he's not. And he needs to remember that. I got in a conversation with somebody the other day talking about the differences in actual positions and what the point guard is. You don't see true point guards anymore. The point guard controls the pace of the game. The point guard gets the players the ball. And, point guard's typically set to score 10, maybe 15 points a game. We don't see that anymore. Players like Rajon Rondo, who is a true point guard, probably mainly because he can't shoot to save his life, but nevertheless, he's got speed.
That's actually the name
tempo.
that came into my head when you said that. That's and it helps that he was with the Celtics for a long time, so I have that name recognition. But that's the person I'm thinking of too. Was his assists up? Absolutely. But was his points up? No, he was about 10 to 20 points a game and somewhere between that. You see that with Isaiah Thomas right now with the Celtics. And, I mean, I'm glad we have a tempo setter in someone like Isaiah that can get the ball to the wing, he can feed it inside, and he is only scoring. I think he's only scoring like 16, 17, averaging that many points a game. And I like to see that. With someone like OKC, yeah, you don't have that. You have someone that Westbrook is supposed to be that person, but he's a shoot-first player.
Mm-hmm. Now, to go along with that, let's look at Golden State, minus they are kind of a different animal.
Sure.
They're a different breed. They really play with 3 point guards. Durant, yeah.
Maybe
with
next year.
Draymond Green, okay, with Steph, and with Klay Thompson. And you could almost even say 4 point guards and throw Bogut into that.
Right.
All of them have 4, 5, 6 assists per game, season stat-wise. I mean, what other team can say that? I mean, this is such an unselfish team, which, minus that many times throughout this season, they've been too unselfish, which is why they've had those high turnover games. But this is a team that doesn't play one-on-one ball, and that's what creates such an environment that you get sucked so into it. Because Curry's going to go off for 50 points tonight. Well, maybe Klay Thompson's going off for 50. Maybe Draymond Green's going for a triple-double. You don't know what you're going to see, and it can be anybody's game. You've got people coming in off the bench with Iguodala, even though he's out for the next couple of weeks. He controls that tempo. Another point guard. You have Sean Livingston, who comes in, plays a point guard role. You have Barbosa, who comes in. He's kind of more of your true shooting guard and shoots the ball most of the time when he has the ball. But he's your main scoring threat with that second unit. And then you have Maurice Spates, who is almost your second shooting guard, because if he touches the ball, he's usually wide open and making the basket.
So I can't tell. You've been really paying attention to Golden State so far this year?
Maybe
Just
a little
bit. To advance it even more, they need to go 12-4 in these next 16 games to tie the Bulls record of 72-10. So 13-3, it's yours. It heads to San Francisco, to the Bay Area, and the record is theirs. But behind them, the Spurs at 57-10. The Golden State 60-6. If you don't have someone like Iguodala in there, who's been a very important person to this team, not so much as a starting role, but off the bench, he's been a rock for them. If you have a semi-tough schedule these last 16 games, and the same thing with the Spurs, it flip-flops. If the Spurs can get on a run and continue their dominance, could you see the Spurs eating into that, or do you not see Golden State losing 4 games out of 16?
I can see either team tying that record. I really can.
And the Spurs would have to, and for the record, the Spurs would have to win out.
Yep.
Which includes a game at Golden State.
And 2 games at home with them.
Against Golden State.
I can see either team really pushing that to the limit. With Golden State, it's going to be much harder for them without Iguodala for the next 2 weeks. But you're going to see a very interesting switch in how they come in and out of the game. Klay Thompson's going to come out earlier and come in with that second unit to give them that added bonus of another shooter on the court. Minus he's going to have to play better in order to make that valuable. So Golden State's hurt. I mean, they got to get healthy. They're not going to make their starters play more minutes than they already do because they need to. It's about playoffs. It's not about the record, Where San Antonio's come to life. I mean, they have played fantastic ball.
Luckily for both these teams, however it goes into the playoffs, they're likely 1-2.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're so far ahead of everybody else. Against OKC as the number 3. So you're not going to see each other till the Western Conference Finals.
No.
Which is similar to what we were talking about when the Panthers and Cardinals were playing together in the NFL. That's pretty much my NBA Finals right there. That's the 7 games I want to see.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 7 games that I want to see. Because I think we're both in agreement. It doesn't matter Western team's going to get to the finals, they're going to win.
Yeah. You cannot look at an Eastern Conference game.
Which we also said about NFL, and that didn't happen. Just throwing it out there.
Exactly.
But, okay.
Well, if you look at it and you go...
Celtics, 2016 champs.
You look at any of the Eastern teams, and they even said during the All-Star game is you look at the talent from the West to the East, and it
doesn't compare.
You just can't argue it. And the team that has the most talent but can't play together is Cleveland. And you just can't see them pulling that one out. And that team's been in La La Land since they fired their head coach because he lost 4 games.
With a winning record, right?
Yes, with a winning record. You've got San Antonio and Golden State who play unselfish, amazing basketball. They are talented, they are deep, and they can play each style of ball, whether it be big ball or small ball, and it can be anybody's night. It really can. Maybe Duncan scores 20, maybe Aldridge scores 30. I mean, Aldridge can go off for 40. It depends, There's no one that's going to touch them. And that final Western Final series will be amazing to watch, to say the
instant
least.
classic. One of the players for the Spurs that came up recently on ESPN was Kawhi Leonard. They were going over his, I think he was just doing an interview, I think it was for Sports Illustrated, and he had mentioned that he still drives the same car he drove in high school. It got me thinking about these athletes where we always think that that a majority of them go out, blow all their money, and then they don't have anything after retirement. But I think that we're starting to expand, if we haven't already, into a different era of player where these guys are saving money. The one that keeps coming back to me is Gronkowski. When he signed his extension, he still talked about how he's still working off his. He still has his signing bonus. He hasn't touched. He's only touched endorsement money, and I think that's. I love hearing that. I love hearing that these athletes are smarter than people give them credit for. Kawhi Leonard early last year, signed a 5-year, $94 million contract, who he hasn't touched, which he hasn't touched a penny of. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love that these athletes are taking the money that they are earning, in a sense, and they're not doing anything with it.
I think it speaks less about. I like it more not because of a money thing, but it's showing the nature of athlete that's coming into this game. You're seeing players like Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry, who are arguably 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA, without really being able to argue that at all. And they are class. They are classy people.
Right.
They are
people you don't mind rooting for.
No, they are family oriented. They are advocates of anyone on and off the court. They do so many things for the youth and for the underprivileged out in their communities and outside of their communities. They are upstanding people, and you respect that. And you're seeing much more of that, and less of the. I played 15 years in the NBA, and now I have to do talk shows because I'm completely broke.
Right.
You're seeing a lot less of that, and that is great to see. And you want to see that throughout the NFL. You want to see that throughout the NBA, and you want to see that throughout Major League Baseball, because you want these you want the youth to stop coming up and going, all right, well, now I'm rich, I'm going to live a upstyle life, and forget about everything else. Instead, teach the youth about economics. Teach them about being a classy person and being respectful and a role model, because at the end of the day, your job is to score points or hit home runs or whatever, but you're also the biggest role model anyone has.
Right.
Because
I think a lot of it.
You.
I think a lot of it has to do with the way the media perceives them too, because they're always in the spotlight. Whether it's through social media, through its. You have local news stations that are showing Curry's half court, throw ups and stuff like that. It's the attention they're getting through the media that's really saying a lot. For them, and it's funny because someone like Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry, they would be fine if they were never in the spotlight. But I love that they are because I think they're perfect for the sport. They're classy guys. They're financially stable. They're team players. They're like you said. They're very big into community support and gathering that that perception of them that they like to stay out of the spotlight but still want their face to be seen. What is the old saying? You'd rather be seen, not heard type of thing, and that's what you have with Steph Curry and someone like Kawhi Leonard.
The other thing that I really love about both of them, and I've heard in several interviews between both of them at different points in times, that Curry just turned 28, not yesterday, the day before, and he came out flat out and said, I still have a lot to learn.
Right.
I still have a lot. I can grow. I'm not playing my best basketball yet. Okay, that's just crazy to think about.
That makes you scared. And
Kawhi Leonard did the same thing, and he's younger. Kawhi Leonard's younger, and he is so talented offensively, defensively. He's better defensively than Curry could ever be. And it inspires you to like them and whatever team they are on. And that's what it's about. You know, you mentioned how I don't, every Golden State game, I'm glued to the television.
Right.
I can't take my eyes off of it. I do fall asleep though, but who doesn't?
10:30 games. We're getting older, not younger.
Exactly. But you can't not want to watch these guys play because they are entertaining to watch. They are classy
they're dynamic,
people.
absolutely. And it's hard not to root for them. And it's funny because, and I've always had that allegiance with the Celtics, and it only because I come from there. I wasn't around when they were winning championships. I followed Paul Pierce because when he was drafted back in 97 or 96, whenever the year was, his name was Paul, and I was like, I love the Celtics now because he has the same name as me. Little did I know, he was actually a great player to follow because it's the same thing. He's a classy guy and big into the community, ends up winning a championship. That's the team that I fell in love with. But like, they're not the Larry Bird Celtics. They're not the Russell, Celtics. So that's where my allegiance lies. But I've always been one of those people that, I like players in the NBA. I'm not big on the team. Well, I root for the Celtics, sure, they're my hometown team. But I mean, even so, Paul Pierce playing out west, I'm still rooting for him. Kevin Garnett back with the Timberwolves. I wish he would start playing. I wish he'd become a little healthy and play at least somewhat this year. I love rooting for him. It's Curry. There's just something about him, and we've already listed everything about him that is
Not
just
quite.
so
We'll get there.
it's just so dynamic and just so much fun. And the reason I love him so much is the statistical analysis of him. That the things that he is doing, that people have run scenarios on, like computer scenarios, he should not be doing.
No.
And that's something that I absolutely love because I want to see the impossible. And he's doing it every night.
Oh, without fail. So speaking of that in itself, from 32 feet and beyond. 32 feet and beyond.
Now, what's 3-point line?
28.
28? Okay.
So from 32 feet and beyond, Curry's shooting 49%.
That's ridiculous.
49%.
So what you're saying is when they have the shoot a half-court shot for $1 million,
Yes.
Curry should not be that one to shoot it.
No,
Okay.
he shouldn't.
got
What's
enough.
the rest of the league shooting? as an
Beyond
average?
32 feet,
Beyond 32 feet.
17.
8.
That's awesome.
32 feet and beyond. The rest of the league is 8%. Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what I think that's a given. But that's what I mean by this statistical anomaly that he is. He's putting up shots, and what's even scarier is what you had said earlier, is that he says he's still not playing his best game yet. But part of me does think the reason he's saying that is for some of these crazy shots. I think he wants to become a better shooter so that he doesn't have to take these ridiculous shots, that he wants to become a better ball handler so he can get in position to make better shots. These crazy shots you're seeing from Steph Curry, they're not going to last forever.
No.
I don't think they're going to last the next couple years because he's going to develop as a player. He's going to get better. He's going to be able to step up and take a shot or make a move and get rid of and shake a defender where he can take an open look shot instead of having to shoot it 6 feet beyond the arc off 1 foot. So
sideways
in the rain, uphill. So, but that's how I interpret him saying, I still want to get better, because if he was taking these shots and he wasn't shooting 50%, he was shooting 8%, no one would be talking about Curry. We'd be saying, well, this kid's got to stop shooting the ball and start passing it.
Yeah.
So I hope that what he meant by becoming a better player was, I hope I can develop my skills along where I don't have to take these crazy shots. I'd rather be known for a well-known player, an overall better player, than a trick shotist.
I think his shooting isn't going to go downhill. I think it will slightly from 32 feet and beyond. He's just having that year. But I think he was mainly going with a standpoint of defensively, he knows he has a lot to work on. He's still a great defender, but he's not an elite defender, and he needs to become that. He needs to be that kind of player. And I think he's a great ball handler. I mean, he makes everyone break their ankles without fail. But it's more of what defensive and what he needs to do to get other people as good as him, to be that role model and teacher for those Harrison Barnes who are kind of up and down so far throughout their career, to try to bring them to life and make their game better. He needs to be that better leader and not just the god on the court. I mean, I just don't even know what else to say about it.
It's very similar to LeBron in his early career, where you said you could put LeBron on any team and it would make that team better. And that's how I kind of see Curry. I don't think if you put him on any team, it would be instantly better. I think that the crew they have there just meshes so well. The equation works. The surrounding players that he has, they just mesh really well. So I'm not really to that point yet where I could say put Curry on any team, they'll do great. Not necessarily,
No.
because I said that about someone. I mean, I said that, a lot of people said this about Kevin Love when he was in Minnesota. He's got 20-20 every single night. Oh, put him on any team, he'll do great. Goes to Cleveland, where's Kevin Love?
Yeah.
He's not that kind of player. So it's like in between that spectrum. I believe that Curry is an amazing player, but I think it's the system right now that's working so well for him.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that's why I'm glad he even came out and said something like, I need to become a better player, because right now you put him on any team, no, they're not going to the NBA Finals, but he can become that player.
And that's why I really hope going into the offseason that Kevin Durant does not go to Golden State.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I hope that
I hope he goes.
GM and Steve Kerr can sit down and go, we have a winning team. We have a winning formula. We are dynamic. We're young. There's no need for this.
I'd love to see what Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant could do with the Lakers next year. It's becoming more of a reality every day. Ben Simmons, and we'll just hop right into NCAA. Arguably the best player in the NCAA, not in the tournament, because LSU he had nothing to surround him with. Behind him, someone like Denzel Washington from Michigan State. These players that are so good. I mean, it's a toss-up where they could go. Lakers, Philly. God, I hope not Philly, because everyone who goes to Philly disappears.
Oh, awful.
And I would rather him go to somewhere like the Lakers. And it's funny, because I'm not a Lakers fan, but I would rather see a great player go to a team like the Lakers simply because of exposure. And that's something we've been talking about all day today, is media exposure. He's going to get a lot more looks and a lot more cameras on him if he goes to the Lakers than if he goes to Philly to die.
Oh, yeah.
So I would really like to see him go there. Speaking of the tournament, it starts from right now, less than 24 hours.
Well, technically it's already started.
Technically it's already started with Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, throwing up a 90 spot, I think is what it was, against Dickerson.
Yep.
Tonight is Michigan plays one of my favorite teams, who I actually have winning the first round. So hopefully they win tonight, and then they can beat Notre Dame. So with that, we'll bring up our little bracket thing here that I've put in. Hopefully it works. That would be nice. That's our other show. That's the show before that. There we go.
We'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. So, with the magic of television, and we have it on full screen right now, the NCAA brackets. John's like, you can't see him, but he's mushing his hands together. He's so excited for this. We both have already kind of talked off camera about where this year could go, and I'm filling out my bracket, and I'm going, oh, well, this could happen. Well, this could happen. Well, this could happen, and I went chalk more than anything because of just being nervous because I want to win a pool. The more points I have, the better. I didn't really want to take a lot of chances, but the chances I did take is like, really? Then you told me some of your picks, and I went, really? So if you'd like to start off, we can start off in the South and make our way around the board, and we can go from there. So
Okay.
And just you can just generalize. You don't have to go into each game or anything like that.
All right. So let's look at our big teams here in the South. We've got Kansas. We'll say UConn. We'll put Maryland in there. I'm going to say, let's see, other big teams in there. All right, I'm done talking about big teams in there. So Kansas, they are a good team. Are they a number 1 seed? No, they're not. They're going to lose in the next round.
Why would you say they're number 1 when they've really only been the team in NCAA in the overall that has actually shown some stability as a top team?
Okay, let's look at NCAA right now. I don't think there is a 1 seed in the NCAA. As bluntly as I can possibly put it, there is not a number 1 seed in the tournament. There is no one that's that good. Every single team on this could lose to the 16 seed. There's nothing possible
That's
here.
where I think you're crazy, because you have a play-in game tonight with Holy Cross and Southern U. I don't think either team matches up with Oregon at all. Of all of them, that's probably the one I would say you're completely wrong about.
No,
I think Oregon's going to win that by 20.
Yes, I agree. All right, I'll give you that. All right, so let's go back to the South here. Kansas is going to win.
Put you back
easy.
in your place.
UConn playing fantastic ball.
This is the magic of UConn, and they've done it so many times.
Every
Was it
tournament.
with Kemba Walker? Who was the other one last year? I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
But it's this team, and it must just be the name UConn, because every time they go out there for a conference championship, it's really hard to take your eyes off them, because what are they going to do next? UConn, I would love to see this. This is the big reason I want to see this. I want to say 8 years ago, Kansas is playing Kentucky in the No, Kansas is playing Memphis in the finals, and Mario Chalmers for Kansas basically wins it for Kansas. My mom that year, this is the first year I think we did the tournament, she picked Kansas to win, and they won. On a whim, they win. She has not let it down since that year. We're talking like almost 10 years ago. She is every year, Kansas is going to win. Kansas is going to win. It hurts so much for me to put down Kansas on this bracket for each win, because it leaves that bad taste in your mouth. Like, Mom's right again. Here comes Mom. Now they're finally number 1 team. This is what scares me, but I'm so glad a team like UConn is going to give them that test, because that's what they need. And that's even saying if UConn beats Colorado.
All right.
But of all teams,
UConn's winning that game. I bet you UConn wins by at least 15 points to Colorado. At least, okay? The next dangerous team in this tournament, okay, Villanova, they're good. They're not that good. They're going to lose somewhere in here. Hawaii.
You think Hawaii,
13 seed Hawaii is dangerous. They've lost 5 games this year. They've played great ball. They're big. They've got shooters. They're dangerous.
Yeah, but their top 25 wins against other teams aren't as exciting as other 12 and 13 teams that are on this board.
No, but they're from a different... that's like going to saying that UVM was never going to beat Syracuse.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay? They're dangerous, and more dangerous than people give them credit. Wichita State, another very dangerous team.
They
got
proved that
great
last night
shooters.
against Vanderbilt too, winning by 20.
Let's move down to the West here. Oregon, by far, they are probably the best 1 seed in the tournament. I will give them that. But we've got a lot of talent in this tournament, or in this.
I love
division.
the West. The West is that spot where I went. I have so many upsets that I want to take, and I don't take advantage of. But between them, I want to see Baylor, Oregon in the Sweet 16. I think because they play each other already during the year.
Yeah.
And that's the West is really where a lot of people thought that the bracket committee got super cute and left teams out that didn't deserve to be left out, just so they could have some of these types of matchups. So you could have, a 5 in Baylor if they get lucky against a team like Duke that has shown so much back and forth that they might not even get out of the first round. You could have a team like Baylor that can kind of coast to the Sweet 16 against someone like Oregon. You have Texas and Texas A&M. If they win their games, which they're favored to win those games, they get to play each other in the next round. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that they put in the West where you're like, did they do it just to do it? And they did the same thing in the Midwest too, which kind of makes me a little upset. I'd rather you put the teams in that really deserve to be there than just to make more interesting matchups in the bracket.
I agree, but let's look at this and say Texas A&M is playing Baylor to go into the national championship,
which is what I have actually.
Texas A&M is dangerous, and people beware, they are good. So let's go over. Well, actually, you mentioned it, and I have to say it. The only bracket that I did was just one of the ESPN free ones. All right, and
like $1 million or whatever it is.
I pulled up jerseys. Okay, I pulled up jerseys. So every team's jersey, and I looked at my daughter and I said, "Which one do you like more?" That's how I picked that bracket. Okay, we'll see how well that goes. So Duke out in the first round. They're bad. Okay, when we look over at the Midwest, Virginia is the number 1 seed. They are the worst 1 seed in the tournament. Why are they a 1 seed? They do not deserve it. Hampton beating them in the first round. Okay, Purdue, dangerous. Butler, dangerous. You cannot ever not have faith in Butler and Purdue. They are those tournament teams that just always upset. They're going to do well. Iona, another 13 seed who is amazing come tournament time.
I have Iona going to the Sweet 16.
I do too.
See, this makes me even feel worse because you have so many of the same picks as I do, and we also have the same picks as President Obama, who does terrible at this every single year. And this is what's scary. I'm like, I might as well throw my bracket out. I filled it out. I shouldn't even do it because I'm now aligned with some people, including my own mother, who has some of these same picks, and I'm going, why did I do this to myself this year? I should have just said, no, I don't want to do it this year.
That's why I didn't do any money pools. Syracuse, they're out in the first round. Michigan State, they're going to be the team to beat in that bracket. If you can beat Michigan State,
it's something.
You're in good shape.
And it's really, when it comes to Michigan State, and we were kind of on the same page about this, is you have arguably, again, one of the best players in college basketball with arguably the best coach tournament time in college basketball. That is a dangerous combination.
Oh, it is.
And it doesn't even matter who is surrounding Denzel Washington. That's not right. Is it Denzel Washington? Isn't that an actor?
I don't know.
Okay,
whatever
anyway,
his name is.
Denzel, whatever. Valentine. Yeah, Denzel Washington is the actor. Remember the Titans, good movie. Denzel Valentine, I really don't care who you're surrounding him with, because college basketball is one of those types of sports where you can have an all-star and still do really well.
And also remember, up until this week, Michigan State hasn't been healthy. They are finally 100% healthy. That makes them harder.
I love that they're a 2 seed because, I mean, when it comes to Larry, I cannot pick him. Tom Izzo. Give him my names. When it comes to Tom Izzo, I cannot vote against him. It's so hard for me to do that. Of every team on here, I can go, yeah, Kansas could lose in the Elite Eight. Oh, yeah, North Carolina, they could lose soon. Oregon, Oklahoma, Villanova, I could see them losing. And I'll say, when I look at Michigan State, I look at every team in that Midwest, I go, geez, I don't see it. I still don't see it. Who they could, and even when you go to the East to see who goes to the final, I look at those teams, I went, I still don't see it.
No, I don't. And, all right, so as I said, I've made a lot of the same picks as you. I only did one actual bracket that I posted online.
Right.
I have a bracket sitting at home that I did that are my picks, okay? Never, ever has a 1 seed lost in the first round. I have two of them losing in the first round.
You have just history but if both of them lose, we can still say that never has just a 1 seed ever lost to a 16 seed. It's been, 2 have, yes, but not ever just one. Yeah, you have North Carolina losing to Dunk
Florida.
City. Oh.
Oh, it is going to be an amazing game to watch.
I will say, in recent memory, FGCU is the most dynamic and fun to watch 16 seed I have seen in recent memory. I watched that game last night against Dickinson, and I love watching them. They're a team that is just so explosive. I mean, within like 10 minutes of the game, they're already blowing them out.
And
they stuck with that too. They weren't a team that really let them. I think they came back to like maybe 16 points.
No, they were down to 12.
Was it 12? Okay, but then it skyrocketed back up again. They end up winning by, what is it, 31 points?
Now, when you look at Florida Gulf Coast versus North Carolina, UNC are not good. They're not a good shooting team. They don't have three-point threats. Florida Gulf Coast, they do.
That's all they have. Right.
But they have several big guys. Now, they're not 7-footers. They're all 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", but there's a bunch of them. UNC is only big. That's their only.
Right, but the thing that scares me is the ball handling of someone like Florida Gulf, because I'm watching that game. I'm like, against even a defensive sound team in UNC, they can take control of this game.
They can, and
honestly, we're saying this as if we really think. I honestly am saying this like I really think that Florida Gulf Coast can go 4 quarters, can go 40 minutes with North Carolina. It doesn't happen. There are so many times where it comes down to maybe the last 6 or 7 minutes where that 1 seed is either tied or only a couple points ahead, and then that's where it starts to break away. But against Florida Gulf Coast, they're a team that does not stop shooting.
No.
So that's why I think this is the best matchup, again, in recent memory, where it could happen.
So let me ask you a question. Duke went into North Carolina and beat them. Duke, a team with
a good team.
6 players.
Even though they're ranked 4, I mean, we've seen that. And there's also another guy, Richard, who's on the sports show that's later tonight on Channel 15, that he's a huge Duke fan. And all year he's been like, I don't know what to think of this team. They're back, they're 4th, they're good, they're okay, they're average, they're better, they're worse. And you have a team like that can beat someone like North Carolina, who's ranked number 1. Like I said, this Florida Gulf Coast team, they're so much fun to watch. And they're one of those teams that they get so amped up and they don't stop shooting. Mm-hmm. So and like we were saying, North Carolina, not a big shooting team. So are they going? That defense has to be pretty much locked down to above average.
Florida's winning that game. Florida is winning that game. What time is it?
7:20 on Friday.
No, Thursday.
7:20 tomorrow. So
tomorrow
we'll be about a 30 rack in.
Yes, let's hope. That is going to be a great game.
I can't wait to watch that game.
Now, you're a Michigan fan. I completely give Michigan the win tonight. They're going to murder Tulsa. That should be an easy game.
I just think when it comes to top 25 teams, Michigan has been in and out of it all year. And I get that they've had some really bad losses, but I also think that come tournament time, they do seem to surprise in the first and second round.
They do.
That's why I see them not only winning tonight, and this is funny because I picked Michigan to win tonight. If Tulsa wins, apparently you still get the Tulsa-Michigan State. So it's almost like picking 2 teams. Do you think Tulsa or Michigan can beat Notre Dame? That's kind of what you're picking. So I picked Michigan, but even if Tulsa wins tonight and Tulsa wins the next day, I still win, which I think is hilarious. But I think Michigan has what it takes to beat someone like Notre Dame. Meanwhile, my father is someone who picked Notre Dame. He's got them in the Final Four.
Notre Dame is a dangerous team. They played hardball with every team in the ACC. The ACC is deep, it's hard. Trying to get through that conference is extremely challenging. They're a dangerous team. They've got ball handlers, they've got shooters, they've got big men. They need to be on the ball, okay? They can easily lose this, but they can easily win it too. They're a dangerous team. But I do like Michigan. They are an upset team. West Virginia, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith.
I actually have, and it's solely on what the commentators and analysts and everyone say. I actually have West Virginia going pretty far because I don't see a lot of talent that they'd have to face until the Sweet 16.
No,
so that's why I see that. Because I'm picking, because you got to remember how I'm picking it. I'm picking Michigan to not only win tonight, but to beat Notre Dame the next day. Mm-hmm. And then that's an 11 versus the 3 seed now of West Virginia. So I kind of see that easy step for West Virginia. I see them beating a 14, beating an 11. Now they're in the Sweet 16.
But the thing
That's
for
how I
me
see
is
it.
that in this bracket, which I have never seen a bracket like this before, where I didn't even want to bet on it. I don't want to put any
Right.
money on it.
Usually there's at least one part or 2 parts of the bracket where you go, yeah, this is easy.
Yeah.
I can get this. And I usually do. I usually do pretty well. I can get, if there's, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 8 picks to make, I'm usually like a 7 for 8. This one, I had so much trouble doing that with.
I almost want to
We'll see
encourage
next
you.
week.
I almost want to encourage you. It's kind of hard now. If you took this bracket, you took seeds away. You don't show seeds, okay? You don't show records, and you just say pick the team that's going to win. That's what this bracket is this year. This has nothing to do with seeds. It has nothing to do with records because there's a lot of dangerous, underrated teams in here.
Right. There are teams that are also ranked higher that should be ranked in a lot lower.
Yes.
And vice versa.
In the East, it is probably the closest bracket. Xavier's a good team. They'll have no issue with Weber State. Wisconsin and Pittsburgh, it's going to be an interesting game. Pittsburgh's been playing really well. Wisconsin's always a dangerous tournament team, so they're kind of hard to pick. I don't like West Virginia. I don't. I think either Notre Dame or Michigan will beat West Virginia. And I think that's kind of an easy call. Kentucky, they are healthy, but it's Kentucky. They can either win the tournament or they'll lose in the first or second round.
Right. The way I look at when these things are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, I just multiply basically by 4 and say, okay, that's the range they could be in. So a team like Kentucky, if you do that, that means that they're anywhere from ranked nationally 12 to 16, or how it would come out. And I see a 12 to 16 team losing to a team like Stony Brook that might come out. I don't know. And the same thing with, there's a couple other teams that I do that exact same thing for, like an Iowa State, who's also ranked number 4. Dayton for sure. They could be a team that's not even ranked and lose to a team like Syracuse that has been ranked at some point this year. To go real quickly because we actually got only 10 minutes left in the show. What's the biggest upset you see, minus what you're saying for the one? What's the team that scares you in the tournament? What's a team you really think can do some damage that may not be a lock by any means?
A good team or a highly ranked team?
Sure, it doesn't matter. Sure, highly ranked, lower ranked. Because for me, I'll throw mine out there. Is Texas A&M. The only reason I know really much about Texas A&M is I follow Dude Perfect on Snapchat, and they're Aggie fans. So I'm constantly checking in and seeing like, oh, how are the Aggies doing? And that's why I know a little bit more about them than I normally would. I have them as a 3 seed going to the Final Four in my picks. So,
all right. So I'm gonna do it kind of split here. My 2 lowest seed teams that I think are going to do very, very well are Hawaii and Iona.
Okay.
I think those 2 13 seeds are dangerous teams, and they're going to upset everyone's brackets. So please prove me right. I agree with you. Texas A&M is, well, let me look here. 1, 2, who's the 3 seed over there? Utah and 3 seed over
West
there.
Virginia.
Texas A&M, best 3 seed in the tournament. I actually would say they're probably outside of Michigan State. All right, let me do that. So on either side of the bracket, Texas A&M and Michigan State are the only 4 seeds or better who are actually going to prove something.
What's your Final Four look like?
I would say Texas A&M, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and UConn.
Yeah, I don't have that. I think Kansas is going to hold up to what they to the hype up until at least the Final Four. I have Texas A&M in the Final Four. Michigan State, can't root against them, and then I have the underdog of West Virginia making it past North Carolina to go to the Final Four, and I have Michigan State over Kansas to win it all.
To win it all, it'll be Michigan State and Texas A&M. And
I don't think those two teams match up at all. If it's Michigan State for Texas A&M, Michigan State can just take the win. They don't even have to show up.
I agree. I think Michigan State wins that tournament. But we'll see. We'll see.
So that's our talk for that. We'll see what happens next week when we're. See if that works for me.
So we got what, 10 minutes left?
About 10 minutes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about NFL free agency.
Thank you. So glad you said that.
Okay, I want to go first.
Before you do, what team has made the most improvement through free agency?
Philly.
Okay, wrong. Go ahead. Start.
Philly has made the most improvement, and this is the reason why.
I'll tell you the reason why, and it's not even my team.
Chip Kelly, everything that he has done or did is gone. Thank you. They have unloaded contracts. They have freed themselves up. They have not made themselves a better team. They have started the rebuild, and that's why they have done the best. They have unloaded those high contracts.
I probably should have phrased that question better. Who has done themselves justice for the 2016-2017 season? Yes, I get that you guys are in a rebuilding season with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I mean, honestly, we thought that was what the case was supposed to be the last 2 years with Chip Kelly. You are now restarting. You guys have a lot of competition. The New York Giants went out there and did work. Mm-hmm. They got defense on a team that was terrible last year in defense. Just some of the rankings. They were 30th in points given up and 30th in sacks. They go out there and sign Vernon as a defensive end, is what it was. They signed a couple other defensive players where you're going, this is what the Giants had to go out and do. When it comes to offense, they're 8th in offensive yards and 6th in points scored. The offense wasn't the problem for the Giants. It really wasn't. On the running back side, it was, and that proved well with the offensive line. But this is a good thing for the Giants. Go into that draft and get an offensive lineman.
Yep.
That's what your next mark should be. The running back situation, they just have to stop going with 4 running backs.
Yes, they do.
Limit it. But these are things you can fix. You have the talent to do that. You're most likely, I'm pretty sure, you're getting Cruz back next year. So you're getting these wide receivers, that same core is together. This is a team that, looking forward, depending on, and I hate to say this, depending on the health of the quarterback situation in Dallas, this will be the Giants' team.
It should be.
This should be the Giants' year for this division.
It should be.
It's on paper, it's lining up to be that way.
The only thing that
that really hurts me to say that, considering I'm a Patriots fan.
But the only thing that I'm going to say about the Giants is they have done great work in the offseason, but you want to see a team do great work when you've already got a base set. Mm-hmm. Their base has been flipped upside down because of Tom Coughlin leaving, starting a new head coach. They brought in a lot of talent.
Which you just said was a good thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. So which direction are you going to go with that?
Well, sort of,
because
hit or miss.
Giants have at least the talent there. And now they're bringing in a new coach. The Eagles are doing both.
They have to rebuild themselves because they did everything they did to win a national or a Super Bowl next year or this coming year. That's what they're aiming for. They have to do that with revitalizing a whole new system with all these new players. When I say Philly has done the best work, they're not trying to win a Super Bowl this year. They know they're not going to. They're about figuring out who is actually going to play for this team and who needs to go and who do we need to bring in. And they've made themselves capable of doing that. We'll see what Dallas does. I don't like Dallas. I think it is going to be a fight between Washington and the Giants.
I do too.
In that conference, I think both teams have gotten better. I think both teams have done well, and they're going to be good.
And I think it's going to be a lot better than the records they were doing that at the same time last year.
Yep. You see, Denver fell off the face of the earth. How do you let Brock go? How do you sign Sanchez?
Somewhere. Stephen Gregory is laughing. Stephen Gregory, if for people that don't know, he was the one who picked up the ball from Sanchez after the butt fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. I'm laughing hysterically because a team like Denver, you just won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback in Peyton Manning, someone that is obviously he's done, he's retired. And you have your future in front of you, and you let him go. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. You just brought the most important position in the NFL is a quarterback. And for all my defensive friends out there, sorry to say it, but it's true. The quarterback is your captain. He's your person that's going to lead you down the field for a victory.
Way to rub in our football tournament loss. Just
anytime. Yeah, sorry I wasn't there to toss it. Dealing with an ankle, which you caused. So, but you look at the field out there, and you even look at the draft, and your best response is, let's go sign Mark Sanchez, a player that I get all the jokes of butt fumble. This is a kid that has never proven himself. He hasn't proven himself. He hasn't been top dog since college.
He's had the opportunities.
He's had so many opportunities. He's been in 2 AFC championship games for the New York Jets, a defensive New York Jets that could have taken them to the Super Bowl, and you still didn't step up. This guy has been literally the laughing stock of quarterbacks. I can't think of another quarterback that gets made fun of more than Mark Sanchez. And then there's also talk that you might try and go get Colin Kaepernick. These are not solutions.
No.
Your solution was Brock Osweiler, who for a year got to work under Peyton Manning.
And won games.
And won games.
He won games for you.
You beat the New England Patriots in overtime with Brock Osweiler. Like I said, has he really? I said all last year and throughout this year, he hasn't really proven himself. But at least he's been there.
Yeah. And
that's
he knows
who you
your
should
system.
be going to, and he knows your system. Now you're bringing in Mark Sanchez. Okay. What is he going to prove? He's not, you think that he's going to throw to people like Demaryius Thomas, these guys like Peyton Manning or Brock Osweiler can? No. It's not going to be pretty.
It's really not.
And you set yourself up defensively for this year to be still a very good team. But if you can't put points on the board, what does it matter?
No. That they definitely lost this year. And then the other team that's done a lot of work would be oh, man.
While you think of it, Patriots got rid of Chandler Jones, I think it was yesterday, bringing in instead Jonathan Cooper. Cooper from Arizona. This, financially, it makes sense. I get it. Like, that's all they keep saying is that you're getting rid of Chandler Jones, who's I think at like I wrote it down somewhere. He's like at $7 million for the cap space. You're bringing in Jonathan Cooper. He hasn't really proven himself with Arizona, but at least he's been there throughout the year.
He's talented, though.
He can be talented. He needs the right setting. And you also picked up Chris Long from
St. Louis.
free agent Chris Long, who can fill that void of Chandler Jones. Not to that talent, absolutely not, because Chris Long has, I think I wrote it down, 18 games, in the last 18 games in 2 years, he has 4 sacks. Chandler Jones had 12 and a half last year. Obviously not the same talent, but does it fill a void? Yes, you're not putting in a rookie defensive end.
No, he's still
and you
very
still
talented.
have people like Grissom for the Patriots, a rookie from last year that is going to develop. And the Patriots have done this in the past.
And who's the receiver they brought in?
The Patriots?
Yeah. They picked up a receiver, too.
From the Bills. Hogan.
Hogan.
Who is a little taller than most of their normal wide receivers. He's actually 6'1". He can be an outside threat depending on how well Brady can throw to the outside and if he can remember how to throw to the outside. But he's very similar to someone like Julian Edelman.
Yes.
So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for him, for Hogan, but I'm not. I still want that deep threat, and apparently he's going to fill that void. I don't see it, but I'm glad that we're getting someone with at least a little more talent and someone that wants to be in New England. The Chandler Jones thing, that as long as you don't touch Jamie Collins, that's what my first reaction was like. No, I'm like, wait, that's not Jamie Collins. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Jamie Collins is the one I don't want anyone to touch. I want him to die a Patriot. Mm-hmm. Chandler Jones, I can see it. You only had 1 more year on his contract. This was the next year. He's very expensive. You're looking at like $16 million after that. And he's going to get that money somewhere. So I understand for getting it. I just wish we got to keep him for 1 more year. But I understand getting a somewhat veteran guard in place. In place of that. And also the cap room goes down. We have 1 more minute on Huddle Up. Final thoughts?
I think it's going to be an interesting next year for football. I think Carolina gets a lot better with Benjamin.
Benjamin. I know what you mean, though.
But
yeah.
When he is healthy, that creates a whole lot another offensive game for Cam Newton. I think the Giants stepped up, and I look forward to another year of football.
I think Arizona got a lot better with someone like Chandler Jones,
Oh, they
especially a team that was already defensively good.
Yep.
So I'm Paul. He's JT. We've made crazy NCAA bracket picks. He thinks 216 teams will prevail. We'll see. And I want to we'll have a little bit of a drink of what you have. So we'll be back hopefully next week on Huddle Up.